Alright guys, so let's keep going with this. So the last time we implemented Bootstrap, we had a little bug and we went around to fix it and things like that. And I just want to cover one more thing before we move on forward because I know it's always one more thing. Because I know that this here, we would rather it for it to work this way, right? So this is where we were at before, where I was just hitting it, nothing would work. So how do we make it work? Well, CSS is not the only thing you need to import from Bootstrap, because Bootstrap has its own little package of JS, of JavaScript that they have for their own components to inherently do certain things. So in the index.js, right where we added the CSS for Bootstrap, we also want to import the JavaScript for Bootstrap. That's going to be in a different directory. It's going to be in the JS directory, and then that's going to be, actually, let me delete this and put this, and you see where it says Bootstrap bundle? That's what you want to use. You want to use there's nothing else there. You want to use the Bootstrap bundle instead of the, because the Bootstrap bundle includes the JavaScript, and it includes the popper, I believe, which is going to be used for modal windows, I believe, also. Something like that. Something like that. What do I know? Alright, so let's make sure that we save that, run it, and now if we are not, yep, there you go. I thought it didn't refresh, but yeah, it did. So there you go. So now it works just fine. Alright, and I'm not sure if this, that is also working. So great. So we're good. Now we can move on. Alright, so the next step that I wanted to work on is going to be on actually styling Bootstrap here, right? So to make it look like ourselves. So we're gonna make an introduction to a new language. Okay, so I lied. So it's not a language. We're gonna make an introduction to a new CSS. What's the right word for this? I know there is a word for it. It's a CSS, not compiler. CSS. Oh my God, there's a name for it. Anyway, it basically just spits out CSS, but it's called Sass, and it's a language that you code, and then it turns it into CSS. Let's just go with that. All right. So in order to import or include Sass into our application, you can't just make a folder and then expect JavaScript or whoever, your compiler to understand what it is that you're doing. So there's something that we have to add here, and it's going to be npm. So we're back to adding another. Actually, I'm just gonna keep that here. I forgot my nice beautiful face is going to be in this area. So I'm actually going to go this way so you can see it. There we go. So here I'm going to put install, npm install. This is the same way we added Bootstrap, by the way, so it's nothing new. Npm install, that means I'm installing an npm package, okay, and I want it to save. And this one is going to be node Sass, okay. And hit enter. That should take just about a second or two or three, 4 seconds. Cool. So if, just to make sure, I want to check here, and there it is. Check the package JSON, make sure that it went in. You don't have to do this all the time. You don't have to check the package JSON all the time, but I do, just because I want to make sure that it's there. But I'm gonna close that for now. So now that is actually included, now I am going to do something else. I am going to now create my first, I'm going to close that. I'm going to create in this source folder right here, and I'm going to click this little thing there, and I'm going to call styles.scss. Notice how the icon changed, okay? This icon right here, which is also shown here, you may have a different icon set, by the way. It may not even show for you, because I have an icon set in my extensions here that I downloaded, like a theme for icons, so that my icons look like this. So if you like the way my icons look and you want your files to also have these icons, then just by all means just download that that custom file thing or whatever, that extension. All right, so this right here is a Sass file. This is SCSS. It's not really CSS. This, however, where is it? Indexes. Yeah, this one and this one. These two right here are CSS. Like this one. This one is CSS. I'm gonna put that over here. This one is CSS. That you see here, and this one is going to be a Sass, and it's going to spit out CSS, but it's going to be compiled before it sends it out to the browser as CSS. Okay. All right. So now that we have a file added in here, let's call styles as CSS. We got to go to the index right here, and we have to add it in the index folder. So we're going to temporarily just do that, but we're going to import I believe I gotta go one step back. Yep, one step back, and there it is. Bam, there. And then I'm going to save it. This is probably gonna break because I just took that out, right? Actually, this one needs to stay because that's the JS, that's the JavaScript. That has nothing to do with CSS, so that one will have to stay. But the CSS is the one that I just commented out because I wanted to render. But the style Sass will stay there, and then just make sure I save this, make sure that I do a little refreshy. Here you go. It broke. Understandable. Let's go back to our CSS, or Sass actually, rather. And now we're gonna do a little bit of code there. Okay. First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna import. So this is where everything just starts back up again. We gotta import now the CSS that we added from the other, on this file here that we omitted from here. Now we have to add it here, but we had to add a different one. We have to add the Sass one, not the CSS. So I'm just gonna copy it from somewhere else here because I don't feel like typing it all up. And I'm gonna put it here, and if you need to, just basically stop and pause it or whatever, and then copy paste it. But I'm basically importing the Sass now that comes from Bootstrap. So if I hit save, now you should see this now back to normal. Okay, because this is what this is what import is. Add import is basically an injection. I'm injecting this file right here that is coming from the same place as the other one did. I'm injecting it from here, and then this style SCSS is being then injected in here. So it's a facto, this here gets replaced by this injection. So now I can go ahead and remove this because I don't need it anymore, and then I'm gonna start doing all of my code here. Now why is this good, or why is it good to do it this way, is because I can control all of my CSS in one file instead of having multiple files from different places coming in. They're all imported right here. Now I like to have three different blocks in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and basically label them right now. I'm gonna put a comment in there, I'm gonna put a comment in here, and I'm gonna put a comment in here, sorry, down here. Yeah, so in here basically what I want to put is my overrides. And this will make sense later. What does that mean by my overrides? Okay, then the next one that I'm going to do, which is going to be with that import, is it's going to be my imports, and then here's what it's going to be, my custom CSS. It's just oops, CSS, my custom CSS. I like to be technical, sorry. My custom CSS. Okay, so before we move on into my override to my custom CSS, which is going to be a little bit weird, let me first add one more import here. Okay, so what do I mean by my imports, or what do all these three sections mean? So my overrides is where I'm going to be overriding certain keywords that belong to Bootstrap, for example. Certain, I wouldn't call it keywords, but I will call it variables, default variables, and I'll show you what that means later. Okay, and then here in this import is I'm going to basically import any other CSS file or folder that I have in the system that needs to be added in here to be considered globally, or any font, for example. So one of the fonts that I'm actually going to be using, in fact, is going to be this import right here. Now, how do I come up with this? Right here, it's going to be pretty cool, and I am going to be really quick about this part. Google Fonts. Alright, Google Fonts. And I'm going to Google Fonts, and I'm going to look for a font that I like. So, Barlow. Let's just look for Barlow. I love Barlow. Barlow is so fresh. Right here, Barlow. And I'm going to click on this. So, I like all this. So, I'm going to select this one. Maybe select the regular one. The bold one. Or medium, actually. I don't care about the italic ones. Semi-bold and bold. So I'm gonna select all of these right here that you see, right? I dismiss that. I'm gonna select all of these, and then here I'm gonna click import instead. And then you see this import tag right here. I want to grab this import tag, and I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna add it there. Now I have access to this Barlow font logo, font type. I'm gonna have access to that. So now I can then attach it in my CSS to my headers or whatever, and I'll be able to, you know, to have my font look like this, nice and bold and sharp. So I will keep that. All right, let me just go back to this. So this is, and actually, you know what, this Poppins logo right here, I can probably right here, I can just bring it from that to this right here, this exact part, and then bring it, actually I want the ampersand, so I want to bring that in here and put it in front of Barlow. Yep, there you go. Now I can just delete that, and basically what I'm doing is, by using the exact same, because they both come from the same place, they both come from Google, so I now have the same tag importing Poppins, and that's what that means, and importing Barlow at this specific weight or whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna go over that too much. You just need to know that now I have access to Poppins and Barlow. How do you access, or how do you attach it? If you look at down here for Barlow, I can basically do this to a font in my CSS. So this is what my custom CSS means. And if I wanted to be, for example, for all my P tags, I want that to use my Barlow. So I don't know if this is going to be a P tag or not, paragraph. But if it is a paragraph, it will show it, and it's not. So what is that? It's an A. So let's do it to the A so you can see a change. And there you go. It was subtle, but it changed. So if I inspect it, you see the A, and if we look at right here, see, it's using the Barlow. So it's working. Okay, how is this working? Because I am telling, this is an A tag, right? This is an A right here. It's an A element. It's basically a link. It's an A, so I'm telling it to my A elements, all of them, to all of my A elements. So basically all of my A elements from now on will have that font. Attach my font family to be Barlow, okay? That is being then Node Sass, which we added earlier sometime in the beginning of the video, if you remember. So Node Sass is right here. So Node Sass is basically grabbing this Sass and compiling it, turning it into CSS, and then sending it to my my application. So now if we look at the index here, we do realize that we have a CSS file up here anyway. There's no point on having that index CSS file up there when we're already starting to do everything on this side. So this is like two different custom CSS stuff. So I'm gonna just basically get rid of that, and then I'm gonna go to my index. I'm gonna save it. Yeah, I'm gonna save it. And I'm gonna go to my index CSS, which is this one right here. And I'm gonna grab this, and I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna bring it here to my custom CSS, which is where I want to keep it now, because this is where I'm going to be from now on. This is where I'm going to be doing all of my custom styling. So I'm gonna save this, and everything should be just the way it always was. Okay, I'm also gonna get rid of this because I don't really plan on making that font but I don't think I will use code, so I'm gonna get rid of that as well. But what I want to do, actually, this font family, I want to get rid of this font family stuff here, and I'm going to use my Barlow one. I still have it down here. Yep, I still have it down here. I'm gonna use my Barlow one for my overall body. So that means that everything is going to be defaulted to Barlow unless I override it. So now I can save all this, and nothing's really changed. I'm just doing a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of organizing, because this stuff will come up, okay? And I'm moving along. So the index right here doesn't matter anymore. We're not using it anymore. We can technically go over here and delete it because it's no longer being used. It's not being referenced anywhere. It's not being used. It doesn't exist. All right, so we're back to normal. Nothing is breaking. We can inspect, go to the console. We do have something breaking, but this is something else. This is a different deal that we eventually have to deal with tab index, but nothing that we have done. This is not an error from anything that we have done so far. So don't worry about that yet. But if it persists, we will fix it. All right. So now, back on this one again. We have to now make use of the theme properties of Bootstrap, because Bootstrap is themable. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to show you. Come on, did I close it? I think I did. All right, I still have it open over here. All right, so if you look at their application here, you can see that, and you have to read through all of this. You have to read through the theming. So just if you want to pause and then look at this URL here and go to it and basically look through all of this stuff here, because it will teach you a lot about everything that has to do with importing and the variable defaults and things like that. So like, for example, this body BG is a variable that exists already in Bootstraps, that is for the background, right? So let's say, for example, I grab this background right here and I added it to my overrides. Sorry, there it is, to my overrides, and I hit enter. You would see that now, if I refresh, there you go. If I refresh, that my body all of a sudden turns black. And the reason why is because from out of the box, and I use that a lot, from out of the box, this tag is already included inside of the CSS, the SAS, inside of the SAS for Bootstrap, for the body background. So when I add body background to be this, then it will do that. So I'm just change it to a different color, and then I hit the same, and I had to, I didn't have to refresh this time, and you see how it changes. Okay, now this is nice, this is cool, but sometimes it's a little hard to remember all of these variables. Like, how do you know which variables exist and which one are overwritable? There's too many R's up here. There you go. So it's really hard to keep a memory, keep it in memory. So it's hard to do that. So I like to do something a little different. I like to make use of my functions and the themable functions. So it's called making a theme map, and then making functions to create items and colors and stuff like that from your theme. So I'm gonna get rid of this, okay? But I'm gonna keep it there because it may come of use. What I'm going to do is I am going to make this comment here so I can always remember where I need to go for this documentation. So again, make a pause if you have to. So I like to do this a lot. Whenever I am dealing with something new and I know there's a documentation out there, I make a comment and I put ref for reference, and I put the link for that documentation, so I can always go there and check it out and learn more about it and make things better and do it right. So we're done with the imports part. But what we do need to do is up here still, we need to create a new variable for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to create theme colors. So theme colors is going to be this here, and then it's going to have a key. So we're going to call it primary, for example, and then we're going to add a color in there. Blue steel, I think it's a color. No, steel blue. Yeah, steel blue. So that's a color. Steel blue is a color. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so we're going to create now a function for this primary. But let's see if this even works. Okay, let's see if this works first out of the back. So we're still on the body here. So in that same body, underneath all this font stuff, we're gonna use a background color. If I could spell, there you go, background color, and then we're gonna add primary to it. Now let's see what happens when I add primary. Sorry, I had to use that. Okay, because we're not adding a string to it. We're not adding a property that already exists in CSS. If you do this, then that means that the primary is a property that exists within background. But in this case, it doesn't. So you have to add in front of it, because you're now attaching a CSS key that you selected, like a key or a variable, actually a variable that you selected before as your primary color. So if I hit save, now let's see what happens. It says here that it can use it, and without reading all of that, I know that this is what's wrong right here. And the reason why that's wrong is because this primary key doesn't exist yet. I have to create a function for it. So I'm going to make this a little bit faster by putting this here first. Okay, now in this function, I think I need to close that. Yeah, there you go. This function here is called theme color, and in this function I'm creating a key which is going to be basically the name of this key right here. So I am going to primary, and that's it. And then what I want to return out of this function is going to be from this map, theme colors. Go to that map called theme colors and return the key, which is going to be this key, which is named that, which is here. I know it's weird. Now this primary key is available to me. So when I hit save, I have it again. Wait, where's that coming from? Oh, okay. I know why. All right. So now what we need to do now here, there's still more work to do, is now I want to make use of this primary steel blue here, right? So this primary key. So what I want to do now is I want my background to be theme color and the name of the key that holds the color that I want. So now when I hit save, there it is. Voila. Okay. So now I can go ahead and change this into any color I want, because it's already pretty much, mapped out, and you can see how everything changes to any color I want because I created this key right there. So this is how you basically set up different colors. So now let's say, for example, you want a secondary key here. So sorry, I don't remember if that takes, yeah, it takes a comma. Okay. And this one is going to be secondary. Let's just call it secondary. And in this one, I'm going to want, the reason why I'm getting this little color box here is because an extension that I uploaded. So if you're trying to do it and it doesn't come up, go back to my extensions. I did that in the first video, and pause it and install my extensions there. And I'm gonna do that, save it. Nothing is gonna happen. Well, I did it to the primary, sorry. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Alright, I'm gonna copy this since it's acting up. Oh, come on. Seriously, what the hell? I'm gonna use it here. There you go. Yeah, okay. And then this one is secondary. All right. So okay, so we're still green because I'm using the primary here, but now I gotta create a function for that secondary because that secondary does not exist. So I'm going to create a secondary key. That's fine. Save that, but I want my navbar right now to, I'm gonna copy that, put it down here. I want my navbar to have an actual different color. It's gonna be secondary, and I'm going to save it and refresh, and let's figure out why this is not happening. Where am I here? Navbar right. So I'm gonna look for navbar right. It's probably because it's embedded in. It is there. You can see it there. It is there, but it's because it's embedded in. So it's actually, I actually wanted to apply to my navbar. I wanted to apply to my navbar. So I'm gonna put navbar. I'm gonna put navbar, and then I'm going to move that up here to my navbar. Take that space, hit save, and there you go. It's now on the top. These colors are horrible. Don't judge me. I'm just showing you how you can create colors and basically then have them here. The important thing about this, or the good thing about this, it's not this like you probably thinking, why is he going through all of this just to, when he could just basically just put the color directly right there. It's like, well, the reason why I'm doing this is because you probably going to be using this primary and secondary color a lot throughout your page. You're going to add it to buttons, you're going to add it to boxes and this and that and a bunch of other stuff. And say your boss says, hey, you know, I want the color to change. I want the color to be red instead of blue. So now you got to go and change it everywhere, in every single place that you added this blue color. That could take you forever, when you can always do it through here in this, you know, in my I did something there. There you go. When you can always do it this way by just basically coming over here to this primary value here, primary key value, and change that primary key value to the color that red, right, to whatever red color you want. And then by changing it here, it will change on everywhere where you have this primary to be set, you know, for the color of that element. So make sense? So this is how you do this particular thing, just colors, but there are other ways that you can change many other things, like the font size and the font family, and man, so many things. But if you're good at understanding, you know, using Bootstrap as much as possible, there shouldn't really be a whole lot of things that you need to change other than really colors and the way you organize your page. And that's basically all there's going to be. But I am going to leave it like here because I already explained the 3 sections that I wanted to explain. Custom CSS, which is where I want all of my custom stuff. My imports, which is basically going to be in Bootstrap, and if I ended up adding another set library, another CSS library from anywhere else, I import it in here as well. My font will also be here. And then up here are going to be my overrides, which are going to be my variables and functions and, you know, all that other good stuff. Okay, so we are at a pretty good stuff where we can actually start digging into React on the next one.